Yeah, honestly, if I knew how hard it was, I wouldn't have started it. For anyone starting a commerce brand these days, I would really think about how dedicated you are. I think people don't emphasize enough how hard it is. And so many people make it sound so easy. I just build a site and it's just printing cash. No, that is not true. It took so much work initially for the first 2, 3 years. It's just going to be a money pit, honestly. Unless you're like an influencer or you have some killer products, the e-commerce space has become very competitive in the past couple of years.
Welcome to the Societygal Podcast, where trailblazing female entrepreneurs and creatives come together to spark change and build their dreams. This is where your passion meets purpose, and together, we're crafting a future where everyone has the tools to succeed. Welcome, everybody, to the Societygal Podcast. This is your host, Dana Schuler, and we have Julia Shu here with us today. We have a really amazing guest today. We're so excited to have you, Julia, and to talk about something that hasn't been talked about too much on this podcast, really about e-commerce, about sourcing. We're going to talk a lot about that and dig deep into it in this podcast. If you're interested in getting into the e-commerce side of business, Julia has a lot of experience with this, and she has an amazing journey to share today. So listen in. Julia, we're just going to go ahead and have you introduce yourself, and we're going to dig into your story in all your businesses.
Thanks so much for having me here. I'll start with a quick intro to myself, and then we'd love to share a little bit more about this kind of crazy roller coaster journey to where I am today. But I'm Julia. I'm the co-founder, CEO of Wayo, and we're building an AI-powered platform to make sourcing really awesome merch at factory prices super easy. Before starting Wayo, I started another e-commerce brand, which maybe a lot of Societygal members have heard of, called Multitasky. We sell a lot of fun, functional tag gadgets, home office supplies. It's very pink. It's very much, meant for female go-getters. And we sell through a lot of B2B channels like Fat Fun, Urban Outfitters, Good Morning America, and many more. Before that, I was chief of staff at Alibaba North America. And that's what led me into this whole supply chain e-commerce space. I was born in the US, but I grew up in China. So I'm like fully bilingual, bicultural. So, growing up, always wanted to bridge somewhat between, the overseas factories and Western consumers. That's what led me to this path. I started my career in finance, consulting, and strategy. I used to be at Disney Corporate Strategy and built the Disney Plus global financial model. That was my first job out of college. But I've always been very entrepreneurial, starting businesses, I think, since I was in high school. I did a public speaking organization. In college, I did a social enterprise nonprofit helping single mothers through knitting and selling college-branded products on campus. Both are still alive. After leaving Alibaba, I did some independent consulting. I think that's when I joined Societygal. I guess is the most important part, because I was doing freelancing and helping a lot of companies and startups build financial models, given my Disney experience. So that's when I met a lot of the Societygal members when I was trying to start figuring out how to build my personal brand, get clients, and all that.
Wow. That's awesome. I really love to hear, going back even to just when you're in college, starting that nonprofit and how ambitious you are in everything that you do. That's what I loved hearing your story. And you do everything really well. So your nonprofit, which is just amazing mission, that's still going today, right? What is that called?
It's called TinkKnit. Yeah, it's still going today. It's fully student run. I just went back to campus and I saw our knitted hats in the bookstore. I went to Brown. We do a lot of Brown University, like branded products. It's I think it's very cute. And also seeing the impact, until this day, helping a lot of the local single mothers.
Yeah. And even then you are doing products and branded products. How did even going into right out of college, went into Disney and helping with their financial model, help you build a foundation moving into your e-commerce brand like Multitasky and Wayo as well? Like, how did that really support you there?
Yeah, I would say it wasn't directly correlated in terms of the skill set and all that, but it did help build up knowing how to work in a corporate environment and under high stress, and building up the efficiency and a lot of the skills that you would need as a leader down the road. Working at Disney Corporate Strategy was not that easy. We're dealing with a lot of really smart, high profile people. When I was joining, that specific group was literally the strategy for the whole company. When I joined, we were thinking about launching Disney Plus. I ended up being the analyst building it from literally nothing until it launched. That was a really transformative experience for someone so young. I was only 21 at the time, to get that kind of exposure. You know how to think strategically and act professionally. And then, that translates into how we now currently manage our team and set up standards. So I think it wouldn't have been the same if I never had that professional training. And the reason that I actually ended up in Disney, I didn't think about that in college because I was like, I'm going to graduate and do my own startup. In junior year, I got the McKinsey Women's Impact Award. And then that led me into the consulting world. I interned at McKinsey. And then I think I kind of got more exposure into the whole consulting business world. But I was also very clear, I've been a builder since I was very young. I always liked building things from 0 to 1, seeing the impact. And to me, being an outside third-party consultant was very painful. I think for some people, they enjoy it, coming in, giving advice and leaving, but I would just be so frustrated because I'm like, I want to see it happen. I don't want to just jump in, give someone advice, and then roll on to another project. I need to see things happen. Otherwise, I don't feel the fulfillment. So that's why at the time I was thinking maybe it's because of the third-party consulting. If I go in-house and do something from 0 to 1, it'll be more fulfilling, which is slightly true to some extent. But I think after Disney, I also was very clear that I'm a very people person, very well-rounded, like just focusing on the numbers and staring at spreadsheets is very painful for me too. So that's why going from Disney, I was like, I need a career that's something that, is a little bit more as a generalist and you get to see a little bit of everything and decision making, which is why I joined Alibaba as the chief of staff as a next kind of stepping stone in my career. I think joining Alibaba made me realize it's not just, I think I need to do my own thing, to be running my own thing. Otherwise, I feel like I'm suffocating. That's why it led me to putting the whole corporate world and then just taking a leap of faith and trying to figure out what I actually wanted. I thought I had to figure it out, got all the jobs that people wanted, but I was just like, this is just not right for me. And I need to start from scratch and really figure out what is the true purpose and passion for myself. So that's why, got into consulting for a year before I knew what exactly I wanted to do. Got into e-commerce, started Multitasky. That was a passion project during COVID that grew a lot bigger than I imagined at the beginning. I literally was just thinking, I'm just going to list some of the products on a website. These are the stuff I like for my home office, like cute and functional stuff, and you can't really find them. And then it grew into a whole brand. And then it became kind of more like a passive revenue business right now. I don't spend much time on it. I probably spend like 1-2 hours a week just overseeing. My team's running it. And it led into Wayo because through Multitasky, we built this whole supply chain. And a lot of my consulting clients came to me. They're like, China, you worked at Alibaba, you ran an e-commerce business, you must know how to find the factories. I'm like, that's kind of true. Maybe I'll try to figure out. And then that led to this whole new business of helping all kinds of companies just source any custom product you can imagine. So right now, when you go to Wayo, it's literally like, I don't know if people use like 4imprint, custom ink, or Visa print. You see a product, you design it, and then you get AutoCode and checkout. Like that's not news to anyone, but all of those platforms use domestic vendors. And that's why it's so expensive and limited. What we did is actually we were able to build out this entire automation database through our design tool and a quotation tool with global factories, overseas factories. You're getting the variety of products and the price point that you would get from Alibaba, but also the seamless checkout experience and top-notch customer service that you would expect from a domestic platform. So kind of best of both worlds. And we can do like minimum starting 50 units, deliver as quickly as 2 weeks. So it's not the traditional headache or worrying about the quality, if it will show up on time, because we basically guarantee that for all our customers.
I love how you went through your whole journey. And that's why I asked about Disney and even Alibaba and your foundational experience in these other companies where you weren't the leader of a company. You're working your butt off there. And I loved how you talked about you wanted to be immersed in the project and see it from beginning to end. That's a great skill set that you have, but you felt limited in not being a leader. It's cool to see you develop as a leader. Where you wanted to be as someone where you're a leader and you're leading a mission or you're leading a company and you're leading a project and you're in control of that, which is really cool to see how your passion led you there. And I really love, Julia, how you're also very aware and intentional with your steps. You were not ever settling for something, which is really cool. You're always like, okay, where do I want to be? Who do I want to be? I know these are necessary steps that are taking me to get there. But from going like Multitasky to Wayo, I would love to talk about that a little bit more because I know you're like, I made Multitasky and everyone's like, how did you even start that? So can we backtrack just a little bit with Multitasky of how that like started? Because you had experience with Alibaba, but how did you even start getting that off the ground? If someone's like, oh, I would love to start a brand like that, everyone should go look at the website, by the way. It's really awesome. How did it even start and how did the idea spark from there?
Yeah, honestly, if I knew how hard it was, I wouldn't have started it. For anyone starting a commerce brand these days, I would really think about how dedicated you are, how much cash you're
Mm.
worth to build a brand. I think people don't emphasize enough how hard it is. And so many people make it sound so easy.
I want you to talk about it.
Yeah, I just build a site and it's just printing cash. No, that is not true. It took so much work initially for the first 2, 3 years. It's just going to be a money pit, honestly, unless you're like an influencer or you have some killer R&D kind of products. The e-commerce space has become very competitive in the past couple of
Mm.
years. When I started Multitasky, it was 2020. E-commerce was on the high, dropshipping was still a thing, and then everyone's trying to start e-commerce, and it seems so easy. Ever since 2021, I don't know if you follow some of the tech news with Apple's like iOS 14 release, the privacy policy tracking is much difficult. Like ads became more expensive. So many e-commerce brands took
Wow.
off in 2020. The ad spends probably doubled. On average, it's normal to get a 2, 3x return on your ad spend. And now the industry average is probably below 2x. Depending on your product and segment, it is a lot harder to sell through ads. And people are also getting more immune to it because they got so much of that during COVID. I think because of all the macroeconomics impacts, starting a brand has been harder than ever. And a lot of brands probably died the past couple of years. So it's been a miracle that, Multitasky survived and we found our niche and we're able to scale. It doesn't take that much of my energy these days. But the only reason we were able to get that is because we invested a lot upfront in, the D2C marketing. We threw a lot of money into ads, PR, building up the brand. And that got us a lot of B2B attention. We found really great partners that are very consistent. We sell through a lot of corporate gifting platforms. Multitasky products are very giftable, like little tech gadgets, office supplies that, works really well for that segment. And usually Q4 is our, big month because all those gifting platforms will just be blowing up. We got some consistent partnerships with like, B2B channels like FabFitFun, like Urban Outfitters, Anthropologie. So having the B2B recurring channels then now basically turned it into a more passive business because I know I don't have to do any ads. I don't have to do any kind of D2C marketing. Now I can just reap the benefit of all the effort I put in the first couple of years. But I would say the first 2 years was very, very hard. Getting a small business loan was really hard and really expensive. And for a business under 3 years old, it's really hard to get approved with any SBA loan, which means you're paying crazy interest on those e-com short-term loans. If you do the math, it's insane interest, probably even more expensive than your credit card. So I think that's all stuff I didn't realize when I was starting the brand, but luckily was able to power through and just believed in it. And there were dark times where I was like, should I just give up? This is so hard. But I decided to push through it like regardless. And now we're like 4 years in, brand is still, it's still young and growing, but it is getting to a phase where it's more stable. It's not stressing me out every day. I remember the first year, it's like literally all the time I want to just refresh my Shopify, like see how many orders I get. And these days, I think year 4, I'm just like, oh, I haven't checked it for a week. Let me look. And then I look at it. I was like, wow, where are the orders coming from? This is great. So there are the good times after you go through the period. But I would say the first 3 years, it's to a point where I'm like, all my investments, all my savings is like in my business. And people don't tell you being profitable doesn't mean you're cash flow positive. You could be profitable on paper and your cash flow is still not good because you need a front inventory. And that's the hardest thing I think about e-commerce. As a brand owner, you need to front inventory because everyone expects fast delivery. Yeah. And if you work with B2B, they have payment terms. So your cash flow is never that great because whatever you order today, probably as soon as you get paid, it's like 3 months later, oftentimes 6 months later. Right. So it just depends on, I think the bigger you grow, the more you have upfront. But if interest rate is high and if your business is under 3 years old, you're not qualified for SBA, then what do? You put in your personal money and how much are you willing to put in to grow this brand? I think that's a question. Back then, when you're throwing money in ads, it's like you're fronting all the inventory and then you see the ROAS is bad and you're losing money on every sale. But what do? You still have to keep growing that because otherwise you don't get sales. I feel like every day I check my ad manager, it feels the gamble. Towards the end, there's no science anymore because there's no accurate tracking, which is when I gave up on ads altogether. After 2 years, I just fully paused on D2C marketing. I just switched fully into B2B channels and then just grew that. And that's when we started turning profit. Whereas the first 2 years, it was just bleeding money every year. My intention for Multitasky is more for, it's a passion project. I wanted to grow it and raise VC kind of money anyways. So I'm totally okay with it being just a small, profitable business that I love and just like,
Yeah.
the showcase of products I like. But if people want to actually scale it, that's a different story because then you have additional pressure of like getting capital, scaling into it. You can't actually pause the ads even if you're losing money. So
You're just kind of at a good place right now. I love how you went to B2B and found really good quality partnerships that stabilized you as a company. And I love how you even talked about like you're at a good place. Like you don't always have to scale. You can grow the business and make it sustainable. I love how you're not like, we didn't need to grow it to be massive, but I grew it enough where I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I think that's something I had to make peace with, especially with Wayo being the new focus. I knew I just don't have enough bandwidth to scale it big. Like if it's really big, that means more employee, more expenses, more cash flow burden, and more day-to-day management. It's like energy I don't have really. So because I want to spend my focus on growing Wayo, and Wayo, we raise VC money. We have a whole team now of almost 30 people, right? We got to scale and we have a lot of goals to hit. With my unique situation, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to keep Multitasky at a really healthy rate. I don't need it to grow. I just want it to make some profit every year and then I'm happy. But I think
did you learn from Multitasky that made you develop Wayo? Like what was not working or what was like, what kind of sparked the whole Wayo direction from Multitasky? What did you learn from that?
Hey, this is Dana from Societygal, and I wanted to take a quick break to tell you about the Societygal Academy, the exclusive membership that helps entrepreneurs you launch, grow, and scale your business. Join weekly expert-led workshops, access to on-demand courses, and connect with a supportive network of go-getters just like you. Are you ready to elevate your business? Visit Societygal Academy today.
Yeah, I think I was very clear that I don't want to be running or scaling a business that has inventory. That was, I think, one big lesson I did not know when I started e-commerce. At the time, dropshipping was still working. I thought I could dropship, but very quickly, even in the first 2 months, I realized it wasn't possible because it's too unpredictable and the experience is not good enough for the customer because it's at least 2 weeks for delivery. People are so used to Amazon these days. If we wanted to work with B2B channels, they would require domestic shipping and the SLA is pretty strict. Oh, like, because we also then got into TikTok shop and all that. It all required domestic shipping. So for us, it's impossible. We have to front inventory and have it in a warehouse in the US. So yeah, like that's one thing that I realized and why I went the Wayo route, because then we're building a platform to help anyone source custom products directly. A lot of times we're helping companies make merch, swag, all kinds of like custom products, and they're okay with like holding some inventory because they're just like giving away to their team, right? Like we're giving away at events and stuff. It's not like they need to figure out this whole like inventory and then resell issue. The target audience a little bit different. And then also, I think it is a much bigger opportunity because we're literally transforming global supply chain, making it a traditionally really tedious custom B2B experience, turning that into almost like a D2C instant click of a button kind of experience, which hasn't really existed in the market. And I felt like that's something really innovative and revolutionizing in the industry, whereas, building e-commerce brand is fun for me, but that's not the one big thing that I want to do. I just felt like as I was running a brand, this is fun, but I want to do something bigger and create a bigger impact and solve a problem that no one else was able to solve, especially with my unique advantage, knowing both like the US China side so well. And then also, had a tech team and like tech, experts joining on board. They were able to figure out how to build a tech product that can turn my visions into life. I thought that was really cool, right? Like, all the traditional industry knowledge, all the tedious manual things I didn't like, I was able to rally up a really smart tech team to build a product that solves that problem for what I'm passionate about. That's what led to Wayo. Even before Wayo started, we had so much demand. All the people coming to me asking for help with sourcing, I knew there was product market fit even before there was a product. So that's also one of the reasons I was like, there's so much demand in this space and that's like such a problem for everyone. I want to build something to make it easier for everyone. I've been a brand owner myself, and I knew how hard it was to navigate the supply chain. I spoke Chinese. I can't imagine for people who don't have the language, or direct connections from overseas, how hard it could be. A lot of my friends who don't speak Chinese telling me how their experience was, how confusing it is. This industry has to change. There's too much opaque information and people marking up and screwing small business owners over. For the same product, I'm able to source it for half the price. For the same kind of shipping, literally 50% savings for my friend. Why don't we build a platform to make this more accessible to all the small business owners in this space, right?
Because sourcing is like, I mean, just like you're saying, I mean, people, when I think about that, I mean, businesses, it's just, people are so lost as to how do I even do so. When I heard of Wayo, I mean, it's pretty amazing. And I would love to hear any examples that you have of specific people that have used Wayo, like different businesses. Do you have any examples that you can share of like how they used Wayo and what they used it for?
Yeah. I would say we have all kinds of different customers. Some are more like the tech companies. Like, I mean, we were first Flexport's customer. Like, we used their freight service for a lot of our container shipment, and now Flexport make their merch through us for a lot of their events and stuff. So that's one type. We have a lot of AI tech companies. Like, Artisan is one of our new clients. They do AI sales lead gen. Like, they're kind of like your SDR AI agent. And then we also have like, I think Birdseye. Birdseye actually got connected with the founder because we were both on the Forbes 30 under 30 list. And they help a lot of e-commerce companies make individualized, like customized postcards where if the client, scan the QR code, then you instantly can see who scanned and can retarget them with email and stuff.
Oh, wow.
So a lot of times we help those tech companies make their merch, but on the other hand, we're also their customer because I use Artisan now for our sales stuff. I use Birdseye now for a lot of sales efforts. So I think that is what really excites me because we not only can help a lot of those businesses merch for better and cheaper, but also we get to know all those cool tools that we could potentially utilize. That's a part that I really enjoy with working with startups. On the other hand, we also work with a lot of e-commerce brands like Lo Ciento. We've been working with them since years ago before we even had this tech company. That was when I was just two people doing sourcing agent work and helping them. They're a tequila brand based in LA, Venice. And then we make all their like side merch, a lot of their, cups, hats, stuff like that. We also help other e-commerce brands source their fully custom products. Sometimes it's really complicated, like full custom packaging that requires like mold and, like R&D for a month to actually push it out, stuff like that. Yeah, so I think it's like also just through that we connect with those brands and use their products. We help Actual Veggies with their packaging sourcing. It's my friend's company. And then I get the veggie burger patties all the time. I think it's a great way to see what people are looking for. We help a lot of creators and influencers make their merch as well. Rebecca Zamalo is a really big YouTuber. She has almost 20 million followers and does a lot of kid and family content. We did a lot of their custom merch. She's also our first angel investor. We get plugged into a lot of different spaces to, get to see, what creators really want to do. A lot of times that also inspires us thinking about what kind of catalog products should we launch and automate. So, we saw a lot of demand for this specific notebook, then we'll bring it onto the catalog and make it available for everyone to customize in a couple clicks and self-checkout.
It's really crazy because I know so many people go through months of figuring out their product and what it needs to look like to make it, custom to them. And it's just so cool how you're like, as a click of a button, you can brand it and get it on your storefront or to your people, especially personal brands, even influencers, like you said. I was talking to someone else on the podcast who's an influencer. And they were talking about how they had a dream of getting their own products out and their own things, but just the overwhelm people have when they think about that. It's really cool how quick it is and how often you're bringing new products forward based on your clientele. I really also love how you talked about the benefit from all these connections with amazing businesses. When it comes to sourcing, I think there's a lot of misconception with China or overseas products. What are your thoughts on sourcing from overseas? I know a lot of people have this like, oh, it's overseas, it's not good quality. It's overseas, it's crappy,
I would say it's not all false because we vet thoroughly and we would sample from dozens of factories until we picked a product that we launched on our catalog. Most of them are bad. I do think when you're going directly from US to China, it is very risky because majority of the factories don't really care as much about quality. If you don't have a relationship with them, you don't manage them and you don't have contracts binding them to make sure that they stick to a certain standard, they won't do it. Not all of the factories, they're not super educated and know all the things that Western customers care about. You need to educate the factory owners to make sure that they perform exactly the way to Western standard too. So I would say that is a valid concern, especially if you order something from Alibaba and you're like, is this real? Is this a real
Like,
trading
what is
company?
it? Wish or Temu or
And that's why we launched Wayo, right? Because we're just like, it's not transparent enough. That was built more for a Chinese factory stand for Western consumers. They're trying to get subscription and ad dollars from the factory. So they open it up for anyone as a customer when you go on there. The highly rated one, the one that's promoted, is it really the best one or just the one who paid the most ad dollar? It's not really serving in a favor of customers. So what we want to do is we vet it for you, and all the products that we've already done, we've definitely paid to sample it. We paid to make production ourselves before we launch it on our catalogs. We not only know the actual product quality, went through all our quality control tests, but also how to work with a factory. If the factory is not cooperative, which sometimes it happens, they could seem everything great on paper, awesome rating, they have all those credentials, but then you actually work with them, they just randomly change and push off your production. They told you they're going to deliver a day, they don't actually, and then the goods are done, and then you send a quality control person to there, they found a bunch of issues. There's the management piece and the back-end ops that you can't just scrape from a database or figure out online. The most important thing is if there is actually an issue and you're in the US and the factory actually exported to you in the US, right? Like, you're not going to be able to return that. Once it leaves China, the factory is going to be like, well, now it's on you. And then you found out all the issues with the products. They can just be like, well, who knows? It might just be you damaging it. In the US, that's nothing to do. There's no
control.
So you can't hold them accountable. That's why having a team and a company on the ground over there.
That's a really good point to make. Like, she was just over there. I mean, for like a month or something, Julia?
Oh, yeah, I was just there. I mean, I spent so much time there. I think when we first started Wayo the first year, I was in China for 8 months out of a year.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just really want to make that point and really highlight that when we're talking about Wayo, Wayo is quality. Julia and their team have put a lot of work into screening people and making sure it's quality. This is the point of Wayo, bringing quality things overseas and not just this Temu wish thing. Julia has people on the ground. That's what's amazing about this.
Yeah. And when you look at our catalog, it's not a massive catalog. It's like, low hundreds. Whereas when you look at Temu Wish, it's like literally, I don't even know how many products.
Insane amount.
But it's like they're a marketplace. Anyone can list on there. Whereas for our platform, it's like we got to vet. We visited the factory and we need to build a calculator to automate any scenario for customization and quotation and sampled and all that to be able to launch a product and then make that onto our design studio so anyone can now start ordering. I think that's a key differentiator. And we do custom everything, whereas like a lot of those like Temu Machine, they're just like, order it directly from a factory, drop ship to you kind of model. Yeah. So that's very different.
I think it's pretty unethical in many ways, having just a mass just creation of random products. And yours is definitely a lot more, there's a whole process, there's a whole screening, there's quality products. If you order from Wayo, it's going to be a really great product that you're going to get.
Yeah, I think that took probably the longest time to build out that supply chain foundation, probably at least 2 years initially before we even had any tech dev. I was first testing it through Multitasky and then visiting all the factories when I was in China. I think I visited over maybe 100 factories myself. It was insane. I was in this tiny town called Yongkang. No one even knows what that is. It's like a little village like near Yiwu area. And they produce all the stainless steel water bottles. Literally that entire town. Wow. They have hundreds of factories. They make the same exact water bottle, like, the fake Stanley cups, the drinkware, all those kind of bottles are from there. I try to get a hotel. Literally, I cannot find a hotel because I was born in the US. I'm like US passport holder. And then I cannot find a hotel that would accept me because it is that suburban. They have not seen a foreigner in that town. I was on protein bars for like 2 days because my schedule was so packed. I was visiting 5 factories every single day and they were all super spread out. And there's also no legit food around. It was like insane. And then I was just like, this is why this business doesn't exist. Because I feel like not many people who went to college like in the US is okay with dealing with this.
Well, and also you speak Chinese, right?
Yeah, that's
a really big benefit. I mean, not anybody could do what you're doing right now, Julie.
Right. You literally cannot survive in those cities. No one speaks English.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. And then you see the manufacturing process. I visit all the different factories that looks the same online. And it's very clear which one is legit versus which one is not. And yeah, I think that's how we vet and try to figure out, because sometimes even just through the online information, we would be fooled until you go and actually see the factory, you don't know which one's better than the other. So that's one big thing. Then building up our entire tech team, we poach a lot of really smart tech people onto the team. And that's when we started building Wayo, the tech AI platform. And last summer, that's when we had the idea. We want to build out a whole AI sourcing agent that can help you create anything. Literally, you can just be like, this is my website. And then we fetch your logo colors. We auto mock up a bunch of like swag for you. Literally, like, Multitasky, let's say if we put in multitasky.com, it knows that our main color is pink, it would just basically generate a bunch of merch ideas that would match with Multitasky's branding. Like, we picked some pink product and then auto put the logo into print on top of it. And then if you want something fully custom, we have a fully like AI sourcing agent that can prompt you to provide all the information and then auto summarize and submit the project for you. So we have a lot of things that we're building to try to make this experience super easy. All people have to do is share with us their vision, their ideas, and then we take care of everything from there, from finding a factory, guaranteeing the quality, and then also ensuring the delivery. And we built a back-end portal to automate everything related to exporting, importing, US, China, all that. So we make it a lot more seamless than the traditional way. The past year, the team has been kind of working towards, and we just launched in December. So it's been very exciting seeing this public to the world and getting feedback. And yeah, we're going to probably start, hitting go to market, this Q1 and a lot of like, crazy things coming up and all the events, conferences. So yeah, it's been quite a journey.
We're recording this January 2025. So just time stamping this for when this does come out. It's going to be really cool to see the growth. The checkout system just got put out, right?
Very soon we're launching realistic preview because we do a lot of like cool customization method, like gold foil, like, you can do deboss, emboss, and a lot of people don't know what it is. So we are building out like basically this visual effect. You can apply like your design on it. And if you choose gold foil, it will have a realistic, as if you took a photo of a real product with your print in gold foil. We're building that and releasing that in Q1. And then it's the AI sourcing agent. We already have one for fully custom products, but we're building a multi-agent that can pull from basically everything related to, sourcing. And then we can either do fully custom or it can just like do a bunch of like auto merch generation for you based on your website recommendation. Yeah. So I think that will make everyone's life a lot easier.
We love AI. It's so cool how you're using it in Wayo. A lot of people think AI, ChatGPT, and it's like, no, so many businesses like your business are using it in such amazing ways. That's going to be so cool to see it come to fruition.
Yeah, I think the main reason is before I was literally that AI that would answer everyone's question. And a lot of times people are like, oh, what material do you recommend? What does this customization method mean? Most people don't know that. I didn't know that before I started Wayo either. And that is confusing if you have a person serve every single use case. It will take so much time. And you're also just repeating the same information over and over again. So that's why we're like, let's just train AI and it can answer a lot of the basic questions already. That saves a lot of time and people get instant responses. Obviously, we still have a dedicated bilingual customer service team. We built out a whole bilingual project management team so they can, talk to the customers and they're all like native. They went to schools in the US, UK, like top like Ivy League colleges, and then they're now based in Shenzhen and can also talk to the factories if anything goes wrong to make sure everything is operating really smoothly. Yeah, and then also I think the timing, right? Last year, ChatGPT just came out. I guess now it's like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow. So like spring 2023 is when we had the idea. Like ChatGPT just came out. At the time, I was talking to Frank, who's an AI scientist. He graduated PhD from Berkeley and he did like AI his whole career. We came together and started Wayo with Mandy, who's my co-founder, COO, and she has her background more in strategy finance. And then we're just like, can we build a platform that basically utilizes the latest cutting edge tech to transform a really old school traditional industry like manufacturing, exporting, global trading and all that, and just make it like to kind of user experience that now the new kind of like millennials and Gen Z would enjoy, like a lot of startup founders, brand owners, right? Like the kind of experience that we want. So that's the mission here. So yeah, hopefully we keep adding more products and features and then anyone can go on and actually create cooler stuff, on budget and get it delivered on time and don't have to deal with either, the really complicated Alibaba process that's not super reliable or paying overpriced to like, some of the domestic sourcing platform. It is easy, but it's just like, for that quality at that price, it's not really worth it and leaves very thin margin if you were to resell it. Yeah.
Yeah. I love dig into Wayo and really like what's happening behind it all. Because I think that's what everybody wants to hear is what's happening behind it all. Just hearing the amount of work that went into it is pretty crazy. Really awesome to hear. But wow, hearing from your perspective of starting this up and all the work it has taken for you to be in China, going to all these factories to make this happen. It's really cool to see how it's flourishing this year. All the things are starting to come together. You got your cart together. You're going to bring out the AI and everything. It's just like everything's really coming together, which is really cool. Doesn't it feel great?
Yeah. It feels like a lifetime. I can't believe it's only been like not even 2 years with Wayo officially being a thing. It feels like so long. And, being able to build up a team. Right now we have an awesome team. Everyone is just incredible, but it took me so long to find everyone. And we went through a lot of mistakes and things that I just being a first-time founder had to take time to figure out. And I would not downplay all the challenges we've been through.
Yeah, I mean, tell us a little bit before we end this today, because we learned amazing things about Wayo. I would love to hear just a few learning lessons you had about e-commerce, just like your whole experience. Like, what are some of your biggest learning lessons that you've had, especially with Wayo and developing that? Because I mean, it's growing really quickly.
Oh, there's so many, but I would say finding a good team is key. That's so important. Many solo business owners, especially when I first started, I was just by myself, right? Like you want the control, but if you want to build something and scale it, you need good people. You need a good team. That is critical. Being able to find my co-founder and then recruiting this whole team, that's everything. I wouldn't have been able to do any of this by myself. A lot of business owners are like, oh, I just want to save money. I want to keep on control, whatever. And then just want to try to do everything yourself. I think that's the number one thing. You got to delegate because your time is the most valuable. And as a CEO, you got to be focusing on things that other people can't do. So the mindset I had initially is, can I find someone who is cheaper than my hourly rate, who can do it better than me? Then if I can, I would outsource that and spend my energy and time on something else. Yeah, so I would say that's number one. And then number two is when you're recruiting, you could be a nice boss, but you got to also have very clear standards and criterias and KPIs. And if someone is not hitting it, you got to just cut that. We had to go through so many people. I think we turn around the entire team, actually. We have now almost 30 people eliminated, maybe like half or whatever. You're just not going to find the right person from the get-go. And as your business scale, it's going to need different kinds of skill sets. So it's very important as the leader to know if everyone is the right fit at that stage and for that role. You can't be emotional in this decision. You have to make the best decision for what's best for the team and the business. A lot of times that is the opposite of what you want to do emotionally, because obviously everyone that you work with, you have like a bond and a friendship forming, but a lot of times you have to make a tough call. And I think the only reason we were able to get to where we are today is because we went through a lot of that early days and were able to quickly figure out what mistakes we made, move in the right direction, and just keep iterating, keep figuring out what is the best, and not being afraid of admitting that you made a mistake. And as soon as you realize there's a mistake, just cut it and move on and do the right thing. Always do the thing that is the next best thing. I think when you go into that momentum and then after years you look back, you're like, wow, we did achieve a lot. And I'm so grateful that we did do the tough things at the moment. Now looking back, it's nothing, but because of that, that's where it served us today and why we were able to reach where we are. So I think
lessons on team. Yeah, your talk about how you have to step up as a CEO and how you've had to step up and just make decisions for the business because it is business and you have a lot of pressure with the business that you're building and you're like, all the work that I put into this too of your vision and needing a team to support and to keep it going. I could see how much that could have held you back by keeping a team because you had a lot of feelings about it.
Yeah, you need people that you can trust and rely on. And that is so important because especially as the business grows, you won't have time to look at every single detail and micromanage every single area. That is not a good leader. But on the other hand, you need to have people that you can trust so you can let go and let them run it. And I think that was the most difficult and challenging thing in the first couple years is to find that and build that and, have that rhythm going on. Once you have that, then you can move on to the next challenge and scaling and all that. I think that's the foundation, especially when you're going from 0 to 1.
Thank you for that insight. That's really great, especially because a lot of our community are solopreneurs, are at solo. I mean, women in business are very new in business. I mean, just in the world in general. And so it's really great, Julia, for you to come on here and talk about your team and how you developed that and what you've had to do that. Because a lot of people, like you said, want to stay alone. And that's just not how you're going to be sustainable over time, whatever business you have. You're always going to need support. Nothing's done well by yourself forever. And so it's really great to see your business being supported really well by a team that you've grown. That's really amazing.
I do want to add one point. With Wayo, obviously, we got venture funding. That's how we can afford having a real team. I know for a lot of solopreneurs, that is a concern. I would highly recommend outsourcing overseas. We have team members based in the Philippines, and they're incredible. They speak really great English. It does take vetting. You have to find the right person for you, but they could be a very affordable way to find someone who can really help taking off a lot of the pressure. Multitasky, we have a virtual assistant ops manager now based in the Philippines, and she does everything from our customer service, email, SMS marketing to all our backend ops, like product launch, literally everything. And she's incredible. So having someone like that takes so much pressure off of you. And then for Multitasky, we also have obviously like a, US based like ops marketing manager, and she does all our TikTok. You'll see like all the TikToks with her face. She's actually from Societygal. That's
awesome.
how I initially found her. And then, from there, she's been with me now 4 years and, did everything from even initially our warehouse, our whole family was helping, to now ops, marketing, and everything. So Multitasky, we just have those two full-time employees like running it, and it just takes so much pressure off of me so that I can focus on other stuff in my life and on Whale. So I think maybe that's more relatable to a lot of solopreneurs, because Whale is like, obviously, like we have so many people. It's a different story now. But even with Multitasky, we've been through a lot. I had to figure out who's the right fit, going through different ones who are not a fit, different agencies, and then ultimately figuring out a process that works for me. One other advice I would give is you always need to figure out yourself before you hire someone. I made this mistake so many times. I would like find an agency and think they're going to be my savior of the day and figure out everything for me. It never worked for me. I always had to, after spending thousands of dollars, figure out myself and then do it myself again after firing them. I would really recommend before you hire on any agency, watch YouTube videos, like figure out yourself before you bring on a person, because otherwise you wouldn't know if they're screwing you over. You wouldn't know if they're saying the right thing or not. You can't evaluate their performance. That is really dangerous. Every single time I had a bad hire like that, the root cause of that is because I didn't understand that function myself. So I didn't know that they're a bad hire until it's too late and we already burned through too much money. So I definitely would recommend taking the time initially as solopreneur, definitely doing everything at least once yourself, but don't spend too much time on doing everything yourself. As soon as you master one thing, try to figure out, can I hire someone who can do this for me, cheaper and better, delegate that out and just manage them from there, and then move on to learning the next thing and finding another person to replace yourself. You got to initially take the time to at least understand how everything works.
That's an important point, because I've gone through the same experiences. And so when you're in the beginning of your business, you're like, oh, it'd be so much easier just to hire somebody. It's not, when you don't understand it and you're not established enough. I think there is a point when you need to be established enough to understand your business, how it works, what doesn't work, and how you want it to be run, to then delegate it to somebody. Because what you're talking about are hires that are scalable hires, someone that's going to be on your team. And there's contracted things and project-based work that people do. But what's great that you're talking about, you have like operational people, you have people that are doing specific, multiple tasks because they're employed as well. If you can't delegate, if you don't know what you're delegating.
It's hard. I've done everything from building a warehouse, packing up all the orders, being at the warehouse, literally packing up like hundreds of orders during holidays itself, to running all the ad campaigns, all the marketing kind of things, like figuring out how those like programs work, affiliate, like everything you can think of. Literally, I built my own Shopify store. I figured out how to do the liquid code and plug in different things. Like initially, like everything from ops to marketing to tech to sales to supply chain, you got to do it all. Otherwise, it's really hard to know how to optimize a thing. And sometimes before I investigate into, how does this email flow work myself? Like, I just didn't know that, there are steps I'm missing. There's stuff that you can be optimizing. It takes a lot of time to understand all the different pieces. For me, it took years, right? Like, basically, it started from me doing multitasking and everything translates with Wayo. It's all intertwined. But yeah, I do think like it did pay off in the end, that now that's how we were able to find good people and build this and launch this and build a solution for everyone, hopefully, that can make sourcing a lot easier.
Thank you, Julia, for being on here today and sharing all of your learning lessons and really digging into Wayo and just amazing business you're growing and launching. We can't wait to hear more. And I hope all of you, by the time you listen to this, can hop on Wayo and see all the amazing improvements and multitasking and use it for your own business. And Julia, do you want to say anything else before we get off? How can everybody connect with you as well?
Yeah, I think that's it. Thanks so much for having me. Our website, Wayo, is just thewayo.com, THEWAYO.com. And want swag, merch, custom product sourcing, supply chain related stuff, that's where you can reach me at julia@thewayo.com. That's probably the easiest way, or LinkedIn. My name is just julial.xu. Hope to see if we can help anyone bring their ideas into reality, and always here as a resource.
Awesome. Well, I hope all of our Societygal members, and when Julia's part of the Societygal community, you might see her on some pictures.
Right. Yeah.
Societygal. She's been a Societygal for a while. I hope all of you can connect with her and really take advantage of this. I know there's so many coaches and other businesses, e-commerce businesses, so many people in the community that would benefit from Wayo. So I really hope you take the time to view her site, check out Julia and all the amazing things she's doing. So thanks so much for hopping on today on the podcast. I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Take care.